The Whispering Shadows. The old Victorian house stood at the edge of town, a brooding sentinel over the surrounding gloom. Its windows were shrouded in darkness, and its walls seemed to ooze a sense of foreboding. The locals whispered of its sinister history, of the tragedies that had befallen its previous inhabitants, and the inexplicable disappearances that had haunted its halls. Despite the warnings, curiosity drew in a new family, the Thompsons, to take up residence within its shadowy walls. James Thompson, a seasoned professor of folklore, believed the tales to be nothing more than superstitious exaggerations. His wife, Emma, was a pragmatic woman who brushed off the stories as mere figments of overactive imaginations. Their daughter, Lily, was the most receptive to the whispers of the house, often claiming to hear voices murmuring in the dead of night. As the days turned into weeks, strange occurrences began to unsettle the Thompsons. Objects would inexplicably move from one place to another, faint whispers seemed to echo through the hallways, and shadows slithered across the walls as if they were alive. Emma tried to dismiss these happenings as drafts and overactive imaginations, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister lurked within the house. One stormy night, Lily awoke to the sound of rhythmic tapping. Following the noise, she found herself in the attic, where an old, locked trunk stood at the far corner. A chilling whisper tickled her ear, urging her to unlock the trunk. With trembling hands, she managed to pry it open, and a gust of stale air rushed out, carrying with it a hint of decay and despair. Inside, she found a tattered journal, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and incantations. Over the following days, Lily's behavior grew increasingly erratic. She began speaking in a strange, guttural language, her eyes glossed over with an unnatural fervor. James and Emma became deeply concerned, seeking the help of local priests and paranormal investigators, but none could decipher the source of Lily's distress. As the darkness within Lily grew, the house itself seemed to respond, its whispers growing louder and more coherent. James, now convinced that an ancient evil had been unleashed, delved into the journal's pages, hoping to find a clue to banish the malevolent presence. But the more he read, the more he realized the depth of the horror that had embedded itself within their lives. The house began to warp and contort, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Emma, now desperate to save her daughter, pleaded with James to find a solution, but he was consumed by the ancient texts, a madness creeping into his eyes. Lily, now lost to the darkness, became a vessel for the malevolent force, her whispers harmonizing with those of the house. With each passing night, the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred, and the Thompsons found themselves caught in a maelstrom of supernatural forces beyond their comprehension. As they teetered on the brink of sanity, a sense of impending doom hung over them, their fates entwined with the shadows that whispered incessantly, promising a fate far worse than death itself. The air in the house grew thick with an oppressive energy, and every corner seemed to harbor unseen malevolence. Emma, now determined to break the curse that had befallen her family, sought out the help of an enigmatic psychic rumored to have once battled a similar ancient evil. With a fragile hope in her heart, she implored the psychic to aid them in banishing the darkness that threatened to consume them all. The psychic, a weathered woman with piercing eyes, arrived at the Thompsons' doorstep under the cover of night. She carried with her an array of peculiar artifacts, each radiating a faint aura of protection and sanctity. Emma, guided by the psychic's instructions, led the way through the labyrinthine corridors of the haunted house, braving the chilling whispers and ominous shadows that seemed to manifest with an increased fury. As they approached the heart of the house, the entity's presence loomed large, a palpable force that threatened to snuff out any flicker of hope. Lily, now a vessel for the ancient evil, stood before them, her eyes aglow with an otherworldly radiance. Her voice, no longer hers, intoned an incantation that resonated through the very foundation of the house, causing the walls to tremble and the floorboards to creak. The psychic, undeterred by the overwhelming malevolence, began a counter-incantation, her voice steady and resolute amidst the cacophony of whispers. With each syllable uttered, the shadows faltered, and Lily's form trembled as if in the throes of a fierce internal battle. James, still clutching the tattered journal, found himself torn between the newfound knowledge and the love he bore for his tormented daughter. A tempest of supernatural energy engulfed the room, and the house groaned as if in protest against the impending expulsion of the ancient evil. Emma, her resolve unwavering, stepped forward, her outstretched hand reaching for Lily's quivering form. In that fleeting moment of contact, a surge of pure maternal love coursed through her veins, a love that transcended the grasp of any dark force. Lily, for a fleeting instant, regained control of her own consciousness, her eyes widening with a flicker of recognition. With a final burst of determination, she lent her voice to the psychic's incantation, channeling her own will to expel the darkness that had ensnared her soul. The house convulsed one last time, as if purging itself of an ancient, festering wound, and then fell silent. The shadows receded, the whispers faded, and the oppressive energy dissipated, leaving behind an eerie tranquility. Lily, exhausted but freed from the entity's grip, collapsed into her mother's embrace, tears of relief mingling with tears of anguish. James, shaken but grateful, cast the journal into the roaring fireplace, watching as the flames consumed the last remnants of the ancient evil's influence. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting its gentle light through the windows of the once haunted house, the Thompsons emerged, scarred but unbroken, their bond strengthened by the harrowing ordeal they had endured. Yet, as they ventured out into the town, they couldn't shake the lingering feeling that somewhere, in the depths of the abyss, the whispers still echoed, biding their time, waiting for another unsuspecting soul to heed their call. Years passed, and the Thompsons tried to bury the memories of their haunting experience in the old Victorian house. Lily, now a young woman, had moved far away, seeking solace in the bustling city, hoping to leave behind the echoes of the whispers and shadows that had once tormented her. James and Emma, though visibly aged by the weight of their past, found solace in the quiet routine of their small town, where the tale of the haunted house had become little more than a distant legend. But even as they tried to rebuild their lives, a subtle unease lingered, a feeling that the tendrils of darkness still snaked their way through the fabric of their existence. Emma, in quiet moments, would catch a whisper on the wind, a voice faint but unmistakable, carrying with it a chilling reminder of the horrors they had faced. James, haunted by the knowledge he had once sought, found himself plagued by nightmares of ancient symbols and malevolent forces beyond his comprehension. One autumn evening, as they sat by the fireplace, the flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, Emma thought she heard a familiar murmur, a whisper that seemed to come from within the very depths of the house. She turned to James, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and recognition, only to find that he, too, had frozen, his gaze fixed on a corner of the room where the shadows seemed to coalesce into a formless, undulating mass. The temperature in the room plummeted, and the air grew thick with an oppressive energy that clung to their skin like an icy shroud. The whispers grew louder, weaving a tapestry of ancient secrets and forgotten horrors that threatened to ensnare them once more. Emma, her heart pounding in her chest, reached for the poker by the fireplace, ready to fend off whatever malevolent force had found its way back into their lives. But as quickly as it had manifested, the shadow dissipated, leaving behind only a lingering chill that hung in the air like a ghostly breath. James and Emma sat in stunned silence, their hands trembling, their eyes darting around the room, searching for any trace of the unearthly presence that had invaded their home. Yet, save for the fading echoes of the whispers, there was nothing but the stillness of the night. They exchanged a knowing glance, their shared history binding them in a silent pact to keep the darkness at bay. With a sense of resignation, they steeled themselves for the possibility that the old Victorian house would forever be a conduit for the unknown, a place where the whispering shadows would always find a way to stir, reminding them that some terrors never truly fade, but lie dormant, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their hold on the living.